Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Recovery After Stroke podcast. Whenever I have created something like a podcast episode or I do a live presentation, and most recently when I wrote the book, I get overtaken for some time by a sense of trepidation about what I am delivering and how it will be received. So it's always a lovely thing to read a review, this time on Amazon, from someone that purchased a copy of my book, The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened. And the review was glowing and it gave 5-star rating. The review title read, "A must read for stroke survivors," and then continues with, "I wish I had this book while I was in the rehab hospital and not 2 years later. Bill is a great guy," which I agree with. Check out his podcast. So, thanks to everyone that has purchased the book already and given the positive feedback. If you want to grab a copy, go to Amazon and type in my name, Bill Gasiamis, in the search, or just go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book. Now, this is episode 294, and my guest today is Eddie Bernius, who has a fear of doctors, so much so that he once opted to give himself 6 stitches when he injured his hand. And that fear of doctors ultimately contributed to Eddie experiencing a hemorrhagic stroke. Eddie Bernius, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Great to meet you, man. Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
So on Thanksgiving, I had my stroke. I was 23, so Thanksgiving being my favorite holiday, it sucked. Um, it came on unexpected. I never even had any headaches or any clue that it was going to come. I had my type of a stroke was I think it was called a hemorrhagic. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
W-
But anyhow, it,
Was it a bleed in the brain?
yeah, it was. It was in the back of my brain, from where I'm told. So what happened is just at night, like it was a normal night, I had no symptoms coming up to it other than my high blood pressure. I got up to go to the restroom, and the moment I slipped out of bed, I fell. Hit my head. Got back up, thinking I slept wrong, or I slept on my side, and I laid back down to go back to sleep, actually. About an hour and a half later, I got up again. This time, no one's home. My girlfriend, everybody's gone. And I get up again, and again, I fall. Now, I'm thinking something's wrong. This is not normal. I try to get myself up, but now my whole right side is not working. It's numb. I can feel it, but I can't control it. I can't, my arm and my leg just weren't doing what I wanted them to do. So I physically just got myself up with my left side, washed my face, and then I heard my stepson come in the house at the time, and I called him over to help me call 911 because I couldn't even dial 911. Yeah, I think everything was happening so fast, and well, at least in my brain, that my left side worked fine, but I couldn't comprehend to use the phone properly to put it in my left hand. It was weird. Anyhow, I got taken with a medication, or the medics came. They took me to a hospital. I stayed there for 5 days, and I've been recovering ever since.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so you had the phone near you. Are you able to tell the phone to make a phone call for you, or did you?
Yeah, the funny thing is, yeah, I do have it, and the funny thing is that I have a speed dial on the phone. So I called my mother and I told her, "Hey, mom, something's wrong. Like I think I'm having a stroke." And she freaks out and hangs up on me. Uh, so now I'm like, I don't know what to do. And that's when I heard Michael coming through the door, and I called over for him, and he called 911 and got me taken care of. But Yeah, it was kind of, I've never experienced anything like this, but I got to say, since this has been a life changing experience, I mean, it's changed everything.
Yeah. Eddie, that's weird that you would call your mother instead of 911 and then she hung up on you. Does she know why she hung up
Yeah,
on you?
yeah. She hung up on me because she panicked, because okay, let me backtrack because I'm a pretty physical guy. And I just don't like I don't like doctors. I really don't. I've given myself stitches. That's how much I want to stay away from the hospital. But my mother knows that. Yeah, my mother knows that. So she panicked when I'm calling her for help. She's like, "What the hell is going on?" So, uh, luckily she got a hold of Michael after, and they communicated and they worked out the details. But yeah, my mom was she hung up on me at first.
Okay.
Uh,
I can't move forward until you tell me why you what happened and how does somebody give themselves stitches?
oh, well, because I see I grew up with my stepfather. He had lung cancer, and every time we went to the doctors as a kid, it was always bad news. So I grew up every thinking that the hospital was something you go to whenever something's bad gonna happen. So I had it in the back of my mind. So one day out, I don't even know, we were outside playing or something, and I slipped and I gashed my hand. I don't know if you can see it, but it gashed all the way down middle, right by my middle finger. I had to give myself 6 stitches. So and on top of it, I'm right-handed, so I had to give it with my left hand, which wasn't that good of an experience. But actually, you don't see a scar too bad, so I think I did pretty good.
Congratulations, man. You found your calling. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
I understand the whole uh I'm afraid of hospitals thing because yeah, that growing up and seeing, somebody being unwell when they're at the hospital, you know, can leave an impression of course. Um, but what you didn't realize is he was going there for help. You thought he was going there to be unwell.
Yeah, exactly. I attributed it to every time we went to the hospital, it was like it was a journey for something bad. And there was never nothing ever good.
Hmm.
We never went there and got good news. It was always something got worse, or
Hmm.
it just wasn't a good experience for me as a kid. So I never, even to this day, I stopped. I stopped going to the hospital, and I think that's what led to my experience,
Hmm.
to my stroke is, my first off, I got to say it's a pleasure meeting you. It's a pleasure you giving us an outlet to do this and to get out to the people that are having similar situations. Um, but my personal situation, I think, was preventable, because I had high blood pressure, and I really didn't, I wasn't educated enough to realize that it's really important for you to take your medicine and to keep your blood pressure down. Because I thought myself a Superman. I'm young. I was, I've hurt myself, but I heal. But this thing was just, it wasn't anything like anything I've experienced. It's changed my life completely. I've actually been told I'm a nicer person. Could you believe that? I thought, I thought I was a nice guy this whole time.
That's crazy. So your stepson finally comes and finds you, calls 911. You end up in hospital for
Yeah.
5 days, a place you don't want to be. Uh, they tell you
Yep.
you've had a bleed on the brain. What? So how do they go about resolving that for you or helping you with that? What do they do? What's the
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
Here's the crazy part here. Here I'm in California. Just to let you know, background. But honestly, I really didn't get much. I mean, they came. My experience there was they wouldn't let me sleep. Obviously, I just was tired. For the first 3 days, I was exhausted. I just wanted to sleep. But they wouldn't let me sleep. They wake me up every hour. I'd have to get up and walk after the second day. I'd have to get up and try to walk. So about the third day, I'm walking. I'm with the limp, but I'm out. But I am walking using one of their little rollers. But I am able to move. My thoughts are there, and even to this day, I get sidetracked quite easy after. My speech is there, but sometimes I forget the words. Like I know what I'm saying or I'm gonna say, but I just can't think of the word. It's kind of it's frustrating. Um, but then they come and tell me that I had a minor stroke, if there's such a thing. Because if you haven't had a stroke, there's no fucking thing. No, excuse my French, but there's no such thing as a minor stroke.
I agree.
It was scary as hell. So, I mean, it's just it's changed everything. I can talk now. I can move. Which is great. And I feel sorry for others who have gotten even more serious than myself. But that's why I'm here, because I wanted to get my story out, and I wanted to let people know this can be prevented, especially if you're in a situation like mine, where you don't like the hospital, you don't like going to doctors, you take your medicine when you're having a headache, and then it goes away, and you stop taking medicine. Well, when it comes to blood pressure, you have to continue to be stringent about it, and make it a habit, make it a part of your life, because otherwise you're going to end up in a situation like mine, and maybe even worse. And I wouldn't wish this upon anybody.
Yeah.
But it is a life changing moment, but it also affects everybody around you, not just yourself. So.
Yeah. So you're getting back on your feet, your speech is coming back, and your thoughts are okay, and then they send you home day 5 or day 6.
Yeah, after day 5, they sent me home. And basically I'm on my own. They gave me pamphlets to read. But it's like, I had to educate myself. The doctors were telling me they wanted me to go to therapy and stuff. But let me sidetrack also here. My insurance at the time, my insurance was I'm going through a workers' comp situation on top of everything, and I've been off since April of last year, and on November 1st, my insurance got canceled. So when my stroke happened, I didn't have any insurance, so here in California, it's not a good thing. So basically, I'm getting pushed out the door as quickly as I can without any medical backing. I'm all good now. I got everything squared away now, but it took me a good 2 months after the stroke to get my insurance in hand and all this and that. But it was tough. If I couldn't speak, my stroke would have been worse. I honestly don't know where I would be right now, because you don't get much help without you having the medical insurance here.
Yeah, so you went home alone, as in you went home because your partner doesn't live with you? Is that
Oh, no! I take it back. I'm sorry. I went home to my family.
ah
So no, I went. Oh yeah, but what I mean by alone is I didn't have any doctor,
support?
primary care.
You didn't
Yeah,
have any support. Yep, you just went home. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to educate myself, and that's how I came upon you. I went to Barnes and Noble and tried to get books there. Went to the library and try to get books to read up on my case and strokes and whatnot, because I have not experienced it. None of my family has had one. But I came across you one day on a website, and I'm a hardened listener now, so I've been listening to all your podcasts, and it's actually it's how should I say, you're what you're doing is godsend, because you give people that don't know, like myself, an avenue where we wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
And I get emotional.
I'm glad it's so helpful, man. Look, when I went through it in 2012, I went home exactly the same as you. Um, the only difference was my insurance, all that kind of stuff. I was fine as far as that was concerned. But we went home, no idea, no clue what to do. What how do you be somebody who's got bleeding in the brain? How do you like interact with the world? It was a mess, right? And in 2012 there was nothing on the internet. I couldn't find any help. You couldn't find a book in the bookstore. You couldn't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff about peripheral things you can do to support your weight, to lose weight, to improve your fitness. There was a lot of stuff around all the things that we needed. There was a lot of stuff around all the things we needed, but they weren't sold as being specifically for people with brain injuries or with uh, stroke injuries or any of that stuff. So I had to go on that journey myself as well and learn and research and research and research and be my own advocate and try and find other people that were like me. It was impossible. So I thought, stuff it, I'll do it myself. I'll start a podcast and I'm sure I'll find people to come on. I'll learn from them. They'll learn from me. I didn't realize how necessary it was. I thought I was just solving a problem for me. I didn't realize I was solving a problem for a whole bunch of other people. And I'm glad. I really am. I found my purpose through this work. Like, I really appreciate the fact that it exists, and that I get to do it. And it led to the book that I wrote. It led to me
Yeah.
putting together all that information that I had about how can I heal from stroke? How can I overcome that? It led to me going, well, other people need to know about what I've learned, what helped me. I don't know how I'm going to reach them. The podcast is a good way to sort of start and talk about the topics that I want to talk about with people. But you can't, in a podcast, you can't put it all in one place, like in a neat little package and give all that information to people, but you can put it in a book. So
Yeah.
that's how it ended
Yeah.
up.
I actually just ordered your book. So exactly. I have it on Audible, but I ordered a hard copy
Yeah,
also, though. So the hard copy is coming in the mail.
yeah,
But I
awesome.
already started that. I've already read half of it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of useful information in there. I mean, really. Like first off, I didn't even know what type of a stroke I had.
uh-huh.
Um, without your 7 questions, I wouldn't have known. Like those are very helpful questions, because when you're going through and just say, I'm so new to it that I'm barely my third month of recovery. So I'm a baby when it comes to this stuff. I'm soaking up knowledge here and
Yeah,
there. And
yeah.
like you said, 2012, 2024 is not much. There's not much information on stroke either out there.
Uh,
There's probably more than there was in 2012,
yeah,
but there's not much. There really isn't. Um, there's, like you said, it's compar- com- compared to what you went through. They there is more, but it doesn't really get to how you should treat yourself, what you should eat, what steps you should take, whom you should talk to, how to involve everyone around you, because that's everybody's. It's involving everybody in your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and one thing is, it's got us closer, my family, which is a blessing. Um, so the only bad thing for me that I can say is that the experience itself. I'm still, my right side of my body is still not fully cooperating. But it's I'm farther along than I was 2 months ago. I walk 3 to 5 miles a day now. Where the first month the first week I was barely able to stand up. You
Yeah.
know, I
So,
do.
so
What?
with the family, you said you guys
Mhm.
like, so you're a nicer guy. You things with your relationships are better. Did that just happen, or did you go after making those things better? What are you thinking in the background? Like for me, when I was doing that, I was thinking I might not be here in 6 months. I better make everything good. How
Yeah.
do you get to that?
Well, mine. See, I'm a knucklehead. I'm stubborn. I'm a first generation Mexican American, and we're not. Men don't cry. Men don't. We don't show affection. We provide, and that's how we show we love each other.
Uh-huh.
But this has changed it. So it's gotten me more open, more. I talk more. Before, if I had an issue, I would keep it in compartment. I can't even think. What's the I know the word, but I
Co-
can't think of it right now. But
Compartmentalizing.
exactly. Thank you. You read my mind. Nostradamus. But anyhow, we do that, and it's not good, because it eventually eats at you. And and the people you should be talking to are your family, not. I'm all for therapy and therapists and help, but if you're dealing with something, I think your family, especially the ones you love the most, should be part of it. You know,
Yeah.
and where I'm from, it's not like that. It's like you don't need to. Why do I need to tell you my problems? Because you're not going to be able to solve them. I have to solve them. That's the attitude that I come from,
Yeah.
and it's not a good attitude. It's not a good attitude to have. Vocalizing my what I'm going through, with my family is actually it's opened doors. It's gotten me. I've met people that I probably wouldn't have ever met had I not had the stroke. Um, I've received help that I would never ever have had help me, because I was not the kind of person to ask for help. I do everything myself. Um, but it showed me like who's there for you, and it's important to take and give back.
Yeah. That's really important what you just said, to give back. And that was what happened to me. I don't feel obliged to give back, but I feel like it's my duty to give back because,
Yes.
like you, people came out of nowhere. They did a whole bunch of things that I never expected them to do, people I never knew. And then um, it's like, hang on a second. I'm not sure I would have helped you if you were in a bad way. I don't know if I would have done that. Do you know? I really don't
Yeah.
know if I would have stepped up
Yeah.
like that, if I would have been that kind of guy. So I really appreciate it. And now I think I want to step up and be that kind of guy. I want to make sure that when people need help, no matter who they are, if I can offer something, I don't care what it is, go and offer it instead of
Yeah.
walk away and let somebody else take the responsibility, take that job. I'm happy to go and do what I can for people. It's far better. I completely agree with you. What's interesting about you is you say you're from a Mexican background, right? However,
Yes.
I know that the Mexican family is the most important thing. and yet you're in a family, you're in a Mexican family, you guys are all close in a way, but
Yeah.
your communication is keeping you, was it making you kind of like
Yeah.
a little more distant, even though you're close to your family and your family is important? It seems like the lack of communication that you were doing was sort of keeping you a little bit outside where you wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, we're close, but we're close in we don't talk about our problems.
Okay.
That's just something we just don't do. Because you're a man. The way you're raised is everybody has problems. Why put your problems on anybody else? You are a man. Solve your own problems.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes you need that extra help. You need help to solve your own problems.
Yeah.
Everybody does, and that's the thing. So that's this has done. It's actually made me more vocal. Um, it's late. It's. My wife says now that I talk too much. So that she's all, man. Before you never used to tell me anything. I'm all, well, you asked me. I mean, I can't help it now. It's like I tell her everything, how I'm feeling. If before, if I had a headache or I wouldn't feel well, I would keep it to myself and pretty much just be grumpy. I think it's what it was, and I would take out my illness or whatever up on my family because
Mm-hmm.
they're the closest to you. And now it's different. It's we talk. He has this one skit with about his uncle and his aunt
Who?
where he's saying his uncle is sick and his wife keeps telling him you need to go to the doctor and you need to get a colon check. And he goes, that's not something that we need to do here. I'm not gonna have nothing. Nobody touch me there. And so she finally convinces him to go, and he ends up they end up finding a tumor. And so now he goes back, they go back home, and he's all, look, see, yesterday I was all fine. Today you made me go to the doctor, and now I got the cancer. So it's like, that's how we are. We're, we're not pro hospitals or pro like
Or
therapists or anything like that.
or proactive.
Yeah, or proactive. It's like we're more reactive. We're waiting for the bad news to come.
Yeah.
We're waiting for that instead of being proactive and just concentrating on the good. Because there's a lot more good than bad.
And
Um,
and then if you know that something is there, you can actually take action and resolve it. Maybe you can treat it. Maybe you can prevent it from happening. That's
exactly.
the whole thing about knowing about your blood pressure. Since I know about it and I have medication, I can prevent a stroke from happening. If I pretend that it's not happening to me, that I don't have a problem with my blood pressure, then I'm looking at the cliff. I could fall over the cliff any moment because I'm not paying attention to the sign which says don't step over there. Basically
Yeah.
what you were doing, that you felt like it's not such a big deal. You made a medical decision about what it means to have high blood pressure that you shouldn't have made. And the decision was, well, this is not a big deal. I don't need to take my medication.
Yeah.
It's very common though. Very common.
Yeah. That's and you know what it is? Lack of education.
Yeah.
It really is. It's lack of education because, like I said, I think my stroke could have been preventable because I had medication. I had everything at my hand and at everything I needed to take care of
Mm.
myself.
Mm.
The help, I had the doctors, I had everything I needed, but I chose to be a knucklehead and not follow directions like I should have. I would take my medication when I would start feeling down or start having a headache here. I would take my blood pressure medication and then it would go away and then I'd stop. And it just got to the point where I wasn't checking my blood pressure either, like on a regular basis to see how high I was or how low I was.
Mm.
Um, but now it's like I check my blood pressure every day, every morning, just to make sure. I'm taking my medication and my blood pressure is down to normal like it should be. But I wouldn't have known that and how important it is to monitor something like this if I wouldn't have had this stroke. And same thing with my friends. I got buddies that are same way, same age, close to the same age, that are just as knuckleheaded as I am, who think they're Superman. You know, who just think I hurt myself, I'll heal. But there's some things that you just can't heal. There's some things that you can't control, that are beyond your means, that are beyond yourself, that you need someone with medical expertise to help.
Yeah.
And the blood pressure thing, that should be taught in school, man. That really should, because it's when they say it's a silent killer, it really is, because I didn't have any idea, or even any like I should say any symptoms leading up to my stroke. Um, I that night when I went to bed, I was normal. I was like talking to you just like I am now. And then I went to bed, and all of a sudden I can't use my right hand, and then I can't use my right side. It's That's how silent it is, because it got you like that.
You
And
know,
oh, go ahead.
when they gave you medication and they realized that you had high blood pressure, do you know how high it was? Do you know when the
Yeah, I was I was averaging 185 over 130.
Okay.
So it was high.
Yeah.
It was high, and the crazy part is just last night, I'm over here at my buddy's house, and we're talking about this because I'm trying to preach to everybody now. And one of my buddy's brothers comes in, and we check our bro. I bring my blood pressure checker with me all the time now. I have one in the car, and we sit down, and I have it here with me, and I go, hey man, just out of shits and giggles, let's check your blood pressure. His blood pressure was 195 over 140. I'm like, oh my God, that's normal. He says, oh, that's normal for him. I'm on that. You need to go to the doctor. You need to, you don't understand. You're skating on thin ice here. Eventually, that ice is gonna crack. Trust me. It's gonna, something like that. And that's how knucklehead I was. Because these are my friends, and they're just as bad, and it's because of lack of education. It's a hassle. It's a hassle also to have to miss work, or miss something just to go to the doctor and wait 2 hours, and just to get to be seen and to be treated. But if you look back, I'd rather do that than have the on the other side of the coin, where you're getting hurt, or you have to be in the hospital, and then there's nothing you can do, because I could have went the other way. My stroke, like I say, is minor, but it could have been a lot worse. I could have got where I can't speak, because I've seen, now I've seen other people that have gotten worse, that they can't walk, or even when they talk, their speech has changed. Half of their face is numb. A lot,
Did your
a
friend
lot of yeah.
did your friend go to get it checked out afterwards?
Yeah, the way we got him to go, we told his wife. So we had to go above his head and go to the boss.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
because
cool.
otherwise he would have been just I'm good. I don't have a headache. I feel good. That's exactly how I felt.
Many years
I felt
ago,
Superman.
many years
Yeah.
ago, I was volunteering for the Stroke Foundation here in Australia, and they
Mm.
used to do a program where they would go into one of the big shopping malls, and they would set up a blood pressure check stand, and
Okay.
we would encourage people to come over, put your hand in the machine, check the blood pressure, and go away, for free. It was no big deal. People come over, and then there's guys come over, and their blood pressure is 190 over 130,
Yeah.
and it's like, how do you feel, man? No, I feel really good. Okay, so what we've found is that your blood pressure is 190 over 130, and what we suggest is that right now, the first thing you do is you leave and you go to the hospital, and they're looking at you like a weird because, dude, I
Yeah,
just came to buy some stuff. I'm with the family, or I've come to
yeah,
get dinner or whatever, and I'm going home, and it's like that is double what it should be, and you should definitely go directly to a hospital and get that checked out because you're at risk of stroke. And the guy's
yeah,
got no clue that he's at risk of stroke, doesn't feel like that he's at risk of stroke, probably never met anybody who had a stroke because of high blood pressure. And convincing him
exactly.
to do that is really difficult. But hopefully, and then we can't make them go to the hospital. We can't call the
Yeah,
doctor over or anything, but we can really encourage them. So we give the guy a really massive shock just walking past and getting a high blood pressure reading and then being told that he's at risk of stroke. Um,
mm,
so it's hard to comprehend that if I feel okay, if everything seems normal, if everything is my everyday life, like if everything's just the same as it always has been, it feels very
yeah,
difficult to try and make that person bridge the gap from actually I'm not okay. Actually, I need to really take
yeah,
action. This is potentially
yeah,
very serious or life threatening. Um,
yeah. That's
but
the thing about this blood pressure. It's like it's hard to comprehend the fact that because it doesn't give you any symptoms
mm,
that you're not okay.
mm,
You're really not. You're riding around with an expiration date on your head, and I mean we all are in the long run, but we're talking about this is going to shorten your expiration date. It's like bad milk.
yeah,
If you leave your milk in there for too long, that milk is going to start to stink. You know, that's what's happening. You're not taking into consideration the fact that internally you're not doing good. You might be all good on and pretty on the outside,
yeah,
but internally it's a hot mess.
yeah.
And that's where I was. I was a hot mess. I'm 54 years old, so I started like before. I'm a little overweight now. I'm working on that now, but uh, it. I barely started gaining weight the past 10 years. I was normally around 170, 180. I jumped up to 190. I'm about 210 now. Um, but it's, yeah, I'm an athlete. I grew up playing basketball and football and baseball my whole life. So I've always been active. But the older you get, the less active you become. It's just natural. There's nothing you can do about it. You
Mm,
can't run as fast as you can, as you used to. You can't jump like you did before. It's gotten to the point where now I just getting out and walking. I preach this to everyone. I mean, being sedentary is the worst thing you can do to your psyche, to yourself, to those around you. If you really care, do it for them
mm.
because they're depending on you. You know, so I mean, it's selfish not to start thinking about others like that, especially if you love them, because
Yeah, you're depending on them,
you
but
know,
they're depending on you, but they want you around, and they don't want to lose you early and for no
yeah,
reason,
exactly,
for something that's preventable. They
exactly,
don't want to lose you, Um, I'm
yeah.
I'm 50 this year, and my in the last 10 years,
Oh,
I'm at
you
that
young.
I'm at that stage where everybody who I grew up with when we were doing all the wrong things, smoking, drinking, all the people who continued to smoke and drink into their 40s and
Hmm.
live an unhealthy life, are all suffering now, are all suffering heart attacks. I've lost two friends in their 40s from heart attacks. Um,
Oh wow,
three
condolences.
actually, three. Um, and there's more people coming on board now that are having heart attacks who knew of other people in their circle the same age as us who had a heart attack 12
Hmm.
months ago and didn't see that as a sign to do something about it. They were overweight, they weren't eating well, they weren't healthy, but it
Yeah,
still wasn't a sign to do something about it. And
Yeah.
it's so strange, you know, to notice people. I used to, and now I see people that are like me who's had a serious health condition, and I compare myself and I say, okay, they came similar around to me. They work a similar job to me. They have similar habits to me. Um, they're the similar age to me, and they've had this health condition. That could be me. I need to make sure that I'm doing the right things to avoid that. I need to take what happened to
Yeah.
them as a lesson and actually take action. I do that now, but I didn't do it earlier. Earlier, when my
Exactly.
mates were getting sick, I was like, well, it's
That's
not
not
going
going
to
to
happen
happen to
to
me.
me. It's going to, yeah, that
Yeah.
fortunately it happened to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have that Superman mentality where, it's not, yeah, they probably don't eat correctly, or I don't know. There's always something that it's genetic on their side or something.
Mm,
You could always make excuses.
yeah.
There's always something, but you always, it is going to happen to you. It may, you're just, you're biding time is what it is.
Mm.
No one's Superman. No one's untouchable. If it's gonna get you, if it's your time, it's your time. But if you can prevent, you having to go to the doctor and incurring all these fees and bills and extra bills and stuff, um, you got to. I mean, you
That's
got to. It's selfish not to.
that's the best way to go about it. Prevention is the best way. So
Yeah.
now you're off work. Um, is
Yes.
that situation going to be resolved soon? Do you know when that's going to?
Yeah, I have I have a hearing for that next month on the 4th. See, this is all happening, so it's like I'm in the inception of everything. So,
Yeah.
it's great. But what I was going to say is that it's actually it's been a blessing for me that having this stroke has actually helped me, because it's allowed me to get closer to my family. Number one, the most important. But it's also allowed me to now I'm starting a support group.
Mm.
um, so I have like two other friends that they and I get together. That's why I was at my friend's last night, and we get together and we now we're actually talking about each other's physical ailments and whatnot. Where before it wouldn't we wouldn't talk, we would be talking watching a game or drinking or playing poker or something.
Hmm.
Now we're actually getting, because it's happening. My other buddy, he had like you said, a heart attack. His it wasn't really a heart attack. I forgot what he told me it was, but it was similar to a heart attack. Um, and they kept him in there for observation for 2 days. But he's 50 years old. He and I grew up together, drinking and smoking and doing what normal kids do. But there comes a time when you gotta stay buckle down and now look at your physical ailments and take care of yourself. Take care of yourself for the future. We're so here, especially here in California, where the cost of living is exorbitant. We're constantly worrying about money. You know, money this. We have to have the money, enough money. All the money in the world is not gonna prevent you from having a stroke, and all the money in the world is not gonna make you happy. Because I've been through that point. I've made $1 million a year, for consecutive years. And I'm not bragging because that's not what this is about. But it didn't make me any happier. It's not, money doesn't solve everything. Money can
Yeah.
help, but it's not the end all be all. It's, because most people think
Where in
it is.
California are you, Eddie? Whereabouts?
Bay Area, the
Okay.
Bay Area.
So in the Bay Area, you've started this particular support group. Are you?
Yeah.
How are you finding people? What kind of people are you looking to find? There'll be people listening here that are from the Bay Area. They might want to reach out.
Yeah. So far, it's like I said, it's just a couple of buddies and I, who started meeting on Thursday nights, and just kind of we're starting to get the word out. We're starting to make some pamphlets and get out. My number, I believe you have it's attached. My number's,
Oh, yeah.
it's available. And anybody would wants just to talk or maybe, have questions. Yeah, I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not by any means a licensed physician or even an educated physician for that matter, but I do have a heck of a lot of experience between, the people that I think experience is the most uh, and the best education you can get. Somebody who's done there or been there, done that. I would rather go, and listen to them than somebody who's learned from a book. Not to don't get me wrong that, book learning is great, but if somebody's had the actual experience, hands-on, first-time experience, I'd rather learn from that.
It helps.
And that's all, it does. But like I said, when I had my stroke, I couldn't find any information. It is so hard to find information regarding, how to treat yourself or what you should eat. And then the doctors were in my situation. I didn't have the backing because I didn't have the insurance at the time. Um, I didn't know what I should do or shouldn't do, what I should eat or what I shouldn't eat. Um, and that's like your book. He's actually, delves into that, and which is great. But I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I barely getting it now, and I'm here to help people that, before we even get to my point of you having a stroke, let's start with what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. Because here in California, I mean, you're from Australia, but here, you turn on the TV, every commercial is fast food. I mean, every commercial. I mean, I've watched television in Europe and even UK, and there's no fast food. They don't even show fast food. Here, every commercial is fast food.
Yeah.
You're getting, and here in the United States, the food that we're being, served is not good. It would be it would be illegal in the other parts of the world, but yet we're consuming this, and that to me is mind boggling because that goes with everything. That goes with, that attributes to high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Attributes to weight gain.
There's
Attributes to heart disease and cardiovascular disease.
there's a great book called Why We Get Sick. Okay, so for anyone listening, um, and it's probably the best book uh, for somebody who's had a stroke to read about nutrition specifically. And when I read it, it was just explaining so many things. It's by a gentleman called Benjamin Bickman. And it's available on Amazon and all those places, and probably you can get it from bookstores. And it's not a hard read. It's a very easy read. It's not a very thick book, but it just goes into so much detail about how one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And it talks about how you get to experience high blood pressure, or how people get to become diabetic, or how they get to have a heart attack. And it's all related to food. And one specific thing that it talks about is sugar, and the amount of sugar that we consume, and why it's important to decrease the amount of sugar as much as possible, how much of it we eat, and then how often we eat it. So Why We Get Sick is probably my first favorite nutrition book, health book, and it's really important. It's a profound book.
I know in your book you mentioned pasta after you had your stroke.
Yeah.
The pasta wasn't good for you. You get yourself in a food coma.
Yeah.
And I totally feel you on that, because my thing is not the pasta, but we're burritos.
Bread.
We get the greasy meats, the tortillas and all that. As soon as I got out, as soon as I was able to eat on my own, I went and got, the biggest burrito I can get. And man, after I was out for 2 days, and you just don't feel healthy. It's weird because you didn't think I never thought about that before. I would, late nights, when I was younger, I'd go out late nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, and find a taco truck. I don't know if familiar with that out here,
I,
and
I am.
I'd find a taco truck and we'd be downing tacos, and that's just leading to what you're just saying. It's a domino effect, and I'm playing dominoes with my life, and I don't want to do that.
I
But
spent
you
some
don't know
time.
any better.
I spent some time in LA in
Okay.
2013, and man, I was in heaven in a way because it's not food that we can get. We can't get Mexican food a lot in Australia. Although now there's a Mexican taco place like everywhere. It's really popular at
Yeah.
the moment. We've seen a really big boom, but back in 2013, we hadn't really seen it. You just buy the cheap Mexican type of food from the supermarket, you bring it home and you make
Oh
it
yeah.
yourself. It
Not the
doesn't
same
compare.
thing.
But
No.
but I know what you mean about the taco stands. They're everywhere, little shops, little windows in
Yeah.
walls. Yeah, it was real
Taco
cool.
trucks now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like where I'm from, we can get it at any time of the day, any time of the night. You can go
Mm,
out and get a taco. But it's a greasy taco.
yeah.
It's that, and then there's different types of taco. But it's what we should be doing, and I think in school this should be happening with the kids, is teaching them young. Hey man, you need to stay away from. It's okay to eat in moderation, but don't overindulge. Don't go and have one soda if you're gonna have a soda. Don't go have a six pack.
Yeah.
When you get older, just don't go have 12 beers,
Yeah.
and then go out and have tacos and greasy burgers at 3 o'clock in the morning on
Yeah.
a regular basis, because that's not nutrition.
Do you have
That's not good for anything.
do you have children?
Oh yes, I do. Yes.
How old are
So
the
yeah,
kids?
they're grown. My boys are grown. My oldest son is 32. My youngest is 27. So I got three of them, and my other one's in the middle. He's 29. But I'm on them now.
Hmm.
I wasn't before, because they're big, strong kids. They're like I was when I was their age. They're over here benching 300, 400 pounds.
Hmm.
To me, that's how I grew up, and I thought that's how you're strong. You're in this, be strong. You're a strong guy. But it doesn't matter how much you can lift, man. If you're not taking care of your inner body and your
Hmm.
inner soul, you're not strong. There's no strongness. There's no amount of weight that's gonna help you
Strength
when it comes to something like this. Yeah,
strength in
you know,
muscles comes many, helps you for some things, but there's very you have to have
yeah,
strength in your character. You have to have strength in your
exactly.
in your emotional state. You have to have all sorts of different strength, and that external muscle look is kind of good for meeting the right girl or um,
Yeah,
showing that you're good good genes and you've got good quality reproductive organs and all that kind of stuff. But and it helps to keep you fit and well. It does. It's really important. But yeah, it's not the only one. We need to broaden our
and,
uh,
and eventually all that it fades like everything else in life.
yeah.
Eventually, it fades because I was a pretty man when I was a young kid. Look at me now. I'm not as pretty. I'm still pretty, but not as
You're all
pretty as I
right.
was.
You're all right,
Yeah,
mate.
but
You're all right. Hey, what
but
what was the hardest thing about stroke for you so far? What do you think is the hardest thing?
so far the hardest thing for me is number one is finding the information on how to on stroke itself, on what actually physically, mentally happened to me. That was the hardest. That is the hardest thing because I'm like I told you, I still don't know what type of stroke I've had.
Mm,
I was barely told this by my physician because I barely got my primary care in order. But information, just information, number one. It's hard because so lack of information out here that can actually help people prevent them from being in a situation like myself, that it's almost criminal. It really is, because if you have the knowledge to prevent someone from hurting themselves, by all means, man, let's get it out there. You know, holding it back is not helping anybody or anything. But yeah, just getting the information is hard was the hardest thing. Second thing is the fact that you're changing. You change. It's like a light switch. Like, I'm a different person. You know, I can feel it myself. I'm not as well, like I said, I'm more vocal. I'm more emotional. I know that comes along with the stroke, that, the emotions, like, I was like read about, how you would cry at anything. I'm the same way. The other day I'm watching a movie and I'm always like crying like a 12-year-old little girl, and my wife comes in and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm all, "Forrest Gump, man, Jenny, she's leaving him." Yeah, so it's changed, and it changes everything. But it's, there's good points, but it's hard. This isn't easy. Getting up and walking. The first week or two when I started having it, you have to do it. But when I started doing it, it wasn't easy. Because I could, I, I would walk, but I would get sore fast. Um, my body would, it feels like half of your body's working and the other one isn't. So you have to focus, where before you can just walk without thinking. But now it's like, now I gotta focus. Even to this day, if I can't run,
Mm-hmm.
and I so much want to run. That's my goal, is I want to be able to run. I can semi jog, but I gotta focus on where I'm putting my foot, because if I'm not, it just goes, and it just does what it does. I can't even control it. Um, I have feeling on my arm, but on the bottom of my right leg, it's like, you can kick me and I won't feel it. You can hit
Mm-hmm.
me with a stick and it's like I don't know, it's like a little brush. Uh, but it's like, I have to focus on things now that I never even thought of before. Before it was just running. It was just, you run. It's like
Yeah.
walking, but now it's like I have to think of the steps I'm taking. If I'm walking up a hill or the pavement is uneven, I have to calculate that. And if I don't, I can almost trip. Like, it's like, when you're walking and your foot gets caught on the rug. Well, that's happened quite a bit with me. Because I'm not, I'm thinking that I'm better, and I'm thinking, okay, here I'm going, and I'm walking on uneven pavement, but my mind is not registering it because I don't feel it on the right side like I did before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before you could feel a hill, or you could even see the hill coming, but you don't see a protrusion coming out of the concrete or whatnot, and it's a process.
Yep.
So now it's like, you have to be aware of everything, of your surroundings, of where you're going, what you're doing, and that's something you just don't take into consideration.
It takes a lot
People
more
don't
energy
realize.
now. It takes a lot more
Yeah,
energy to pay attention and do the walking and paying attention at the same time. What has
yeah.
stroke taught you?
It's so far because I'm so new to it. It's taught me that, life is, it's shorter than we would think, and what you do with it is hugely important. You know, all the money in the world, all the material things don't mean a thing. It's it's what you do. See, I get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's what you do to, everybody has a gift, and I think you should use it.
That's really important. So that's leading to my
Yeah,
next
you gotta.
question, which is, what do you want to tell other people who have had a stroke and are listening to you, just started their journey, or maybe they're a few years into their journey? What do you want to tell them?
That they're not alone. That there's others out there like us, and um, j- don't ever get, because I know there's people that get like why me, the why me attitude, and um I don't want to be here. That's not the answer. There's someone out there for you, and there's people that'll listen.
Reach out for
Yeah,
help.
you gotta excuse me. Yeah, you gotta excuse me. I'm telling you, I never used to get emotional like this. This is
Yeah.
insane.
It's new. I know. I've been there. I know.
Yeah.
It's good that you're allowing yourself to be that way, man. It's understandable. It's uncomfortable. It'll get better. It will get better. It's also going to be okay that it stays a little bit as well, that you're going to be a little bit emotional. It's really important, I think, for men and anybody, but for men to be emotional. And you know what I think it does? It gives permission to other men in your life to be emotional as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I cry in front of the kids all the time now, and my kids are 27 and 23, so they have an example of how you can be vulnerable, um, how you can cry if you need to cry, how if something saddens you, that it's okay to express it and to be saddened by it, and not to, you don't need to put a brave face on all the time. So
Yeah, like I was saying, my son is 32 years old. I'm 54. He barely saw me cry
yeah,
for the first time. That's yeah. It's this whole situation has got us closer, but it's opened doors that I never thought that probably would have never been open before. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't have been as vocal before. My kids, especially boys, they're just like before, like I've gotten, they scrape themselves. I don't cry. You're not bleeding. You're fine. That type of attitude. And now I have grandchildren, and I don't want that same attitude. We need to change.
yeah. And now you're looking after your health and you're making sure that you're taking your medication.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. And
Awesome.
with people like yourself to help with your books and your podcast, this is an ongoing journey, and one I'm glad to be on. And I thank you for your help.
That's absolutely my pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. Get a copy of my book by going to recoveryafterstroke.com/book. To learn more about my guests, including links to their social media, and to download a transcript of the entire interview, go to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. For everyone who has already left an amazing review, be it on the podcast app that you listen to, you have commented on a YouTube video, or you have left a book review, it means the world to me. Podcasts, books, authors thrive because of reviews. And when you leave a review, you're also helping others in need of this type of content to find it easier. And that is making a massive difference in their recovery. If you haven't left a review and would like to do so, just go to your favorite podcast app, leave a 5-star review, and a few words about what the show means to you. If you're watching on YouTube, do comment below the video. I love receiving comments. I respond to as many comments as I possibly can. At the moment, I'm responding to all comments, so I would love to hear from you. Subscribe to the show on the platform of your choice. If you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you can be notified of new episodes. If you are a stroke survivor with a story to share about your experience, come and join me on the show. You do not have to plan for them. All you need to do to qualify is be a stroke survivor, and you want to share your story so that you and other people can go about their recovery a little bit better. If you are a researcher who wants to share the findings of a recent study, or you are looking to recruit people into studies, you may also wish to reach out and be a guest on the show. If you have a commercial product that you would love to promote on the podcast that is related to helping stroke survivors, you can also join me for a sponsored episode of the show. Just go to recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form, explaining which category you belong to, a little bit about yourself and your story, and I will send you some more details of how we can connect via Zoom. Thanks again for being here and listening. I do deeply appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gasiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.